What's up, the YouTubes? It's Joshua J here, and I am hopefully going to be posting more YouTube videos. As of late, I haven't been posting in a while, but yeah, like I've said, I've been learning and just sort of honing the craft, and I feel like I have enough knowledge or some knowledge now to share. So I really want to just share what I've learned, and I have recordings backed up from the last couple of months, so it'll be nice to just share, some pointers and some ideas, also some topics. So today I really want to go over the asset design industry and just like a general riff on the asset design industry and sort of just the way the space is and kind of what's like things to think about as a concept artist in asset design. So I mean, like when we're looking at asset design, it's a lot different from like character design, in the sense that like everyone wants to be the character designer. So everyone wants to design characters and freaking like that's what everyone wants to be. And it's sort of an underrated job as asset design, just in the sense that, like, I don't know, and I think that there's actually more jobs out there for asset designers as opposed to character designers, just because the competition is so incredibly high. So if everyone wants a job, I mean, there's nothing wrong with wanting that job, but the competition is just a lot higher. Whereas for asset design, the jobs are incredibly diverse. So it's such a diverse range of jobs you can get as an asset designer. So maybe it's so wide. Like maybe when we talk about asset design, we're talking about basically anything that's not an environment and not a character. So we're talking about like buildings and vehicles and weapons, handheld weapons, different objects in the space that that the player would interact with, if we're talking about game, or the different elements in the scenes that you would see if we're talking about animation. So excuse me. So that's sort of what we're talking about when we're talking about asset design. So it's whatever the world is made up of. And asset design is it's such a great storytelling element to a space. So if we, if you're the asset designer, you really have to understand the IP and understand the world, like really understand what's happening in the space, and like understanding the IP, so you can tell a story that sort of makes logical sense with the elements that are within the scene, with the elements that are in the space. So like and so I mean that's an incredibly important thing to consider, is like storytelling through asset design. And I think the ability to do that it's a real skill that I think you have to hone, being able to build a space up to make it feel like it's part of the IP. And I was talking earlier about gameplay or animation. If we're working in those sorts of industries, as an asset designer, you kind of need to be pretty empathetic as well. Like we need to think about how the player is going to interact with these elements, and sort of how the viewer is going to see them, how they're going to perceive them. And is it, there's a lot of like functionality when it comes to asset design as well. So it needs to be ergonomically friendly, it needs to make sense as well. So like there's a big focus on function when it comes to asset design. Like, how is this thing to be interacted with? Does it have like a unique design? Is there something unique and interesting about it? And I think like that's where the best assets come from. The ones that are unique and interesting, and they fit the brief, but they also add to it. They're not just like plain old nothing. And also, like as an asset designer, we need to think about obviously design, how it works, how the things to be interacted with, and those are sort of where the best assets come from. So you really have to have a mind for how things work. That's incredibly important. It's just to be able to think about how this thing works, how does it do this thing, and always asking the question of how, having a curious mind on how things work, I think, makes a strong asset designer. All of the students that I've taught, having that mindset, it's always the most interesting designs that you sort of see. There's many ways to go about building asset design. Specifically, in concept art, we're talking about 2D and 3D. Both are valid for building assets, and also being technologically up to date, or being able to take advantage of the technological tools like Blender, maybe like Viscom, being able to sketch using mirror brush tools. There's not going to be a tech demo. It's more just like sort of a riff on asset design and the actual industry, the asset design industry. But being able to utilize technological tools to help speed up your workflow and to make you efficient it's just going to aid in your sort of ability to be valuable as an asset designer. So that's just an important thing to stay up to date with, is the technological tool, but you also don't want to be overtaken by the tech tools, so you still want to keep your own integrity. And through these technological tools, it's really easy to create iterations and to do explorations. So that's really, as an asset designer, there's never okay, we're going to create one design. There's always going to be create multiple designs, do multiple iterations. That's always what the focus is on. So the asset design industry is, it's always going to want you to create more iterations of the same thing. And I think if you can think iteratively, and you can explore the asset, I really think you will find yourself with a lot of work and just to be incredibly valuable as an asset designer. So just being able to be okay with exploring, and exploring will, it'll end up in some mistakes, maybe you don't get something right, or maybe sort of when you explore, it's uncertainty. So being okay with uncertainty is also something that can be it's needed, to be okay with uncertainty. And in some places you might be just uncertain with what to design and whatever, but being able to explore the space really is helpful. I think knowing how to reference, how to gather good solid reference, is really important when you're doing asset design. So it requires a lot of research, asset design. So being able to research around the asset you're designing, or around the world you're designing, diverse in the sense that it makes it interesting. So you can pull reference from multiple different points, multiple different perspectives, using patterns from this one area, or sort of using, what does the actual thing do, and just being able to pull reference from all over the place is really helpful. And it'll make you a stronger asset designer, because the designs will obviously be a lot stronger, and it's a solution to any problem that you might run into when you're doing exploration. So the way to sort of solve that uncertainty is to just have good reference. A good reference, helps you explore the space really well. So these are some things that it's important to consider, to understand the pipeline that you're working in. So as an asset designer, concept artist, it's nice to know it's important to know where your role lies. So, often you'll be working with 3D modelers and such, and maybe character designers as well. But it's just important to know the pipeline that you're working in. So like if we're working in game, the pipeline's slightly different to like if you're working in animation. If you're working in game, there's going to be 3D modelers and developers, obviously. And if you're the artist, it's just helpful to know the sort of different processes that the other roles in your team, the roles that they're playing, so that you can sort of make it easier for them when you guys come together to sort of bring everything together. Cool, so this is just a riff on asset design, just sort of like the asset design industry and sort of things to think about to become a good asset designer. And I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will catch you guys in the next one.